For years, Nikon enthusiasts in the APS-C realm have been waiting for a true successor to the legendary D500, a camera that could deliver professional-grade performance without the full-frame price tag. Now, whispers of the Nikon Z90 have reignited old hopes. Rumored to bring a 33-megapixel DX sensor, fast burst rates, advanced autofocus, and in-body image stabilization, the Z90 sounds like the answer to many wildlife, sports, and action photographers' prayers. But with every month that passes without an official announcement, the question grows sharper. Will the Nikon Z90 ever happen? And if it does, will it even matter in a market that's already moved on? If the reports hold true, the Z90 will feature an APS-C sensor capable of delivering resolution well beyond the current Nikon DX lineup. Combined with Nikon's latest X-Speed image processor, it's expected to handle continuous shooting in the realm of 15 to 20 frames per second, with a large buffer, potentially storing hundreds of raw images before slowing down. Video capabilities are rumored to include oversampled 4K at 60 frames per second, with the possibility of higher frame rates like 120 frames per second, or even 180 frames per second for slow motion work. Perhaps more importantly, for handheld shooters, it could be the first Nikon DX mirrorless body to incorporate in-body image stabilization, a major step forward from the current Z50 and ZFC models that rely solely on lens-based stabilization. These specifications, if confirmed, would place the Z90 in direct competition with cameras like Canon's EOS R7 and Fujifilm's X-H2S, both of which have carved strong positions in the high-performance APS-C market. Canon's R7, for instance, already offers blackout-free shooting at up to 30 frames per second with its electronic shutter, paired with deep learning autofocus that locks onto eyes, faces, animals, and vehicles. Fujifilm's X-H2S goes even further with a stacked sensor that delivers rapid readout speeds and high burst rates. For Nikon, matching or exceeding these capabilities will be critical if the Z90 is to be taken seriously as a flagship DX body. But here's where the dilemma begins. Nikon's current strategy leans heavily toward its full-frame Z series, with the Z8 and Z9 setting the tone for high-end performance. For shooters who already own a Z8, switching to a Z90 may not make much sense if the full-frame body can achieve similar frame rates in crop mode while offering superior low-light performance. In other words, Nikon faces a delicate balancing act. The Z90 must be powerful enough to justify its existence without cannibalizing interest in its more profitable FX models. Price will play a big role here. Industry watchers speculate the Z90 could land somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000, positioning it well below the Z8 but above the entry-level DX offerings. This would make it appealing to serious enthusiasts and professionals who want reach and speed without committing to the size and cost of full-frame telephoto lenses. A high-resolution DX sensor effectively turns a 400mm lens into a 600mm equivalent field of view. An advantage for wildlife and sports photographers working in environments where getting physically closer to the subject is impossible. Yet, as many longtime Nikon users point out, the company has done little in recent years to strengthen its DX lens ecosystem. While the Z-mount FX lenses are excellent, using them on a DX body like the Z90 often results in a size and weight penalty that undercuts the portability advantage of the smaller sensor. Without a strong lineup of fast telephoto primes and zooms designed specifically for DX, the Z90 risks feeling like a compromise. A high-speed body tethered to oversized glass. There's also the issue of timing. Nikon discontinued the D500 in early 2022, leaving a vacuum in its APS-C professional segment. Since then, the Z50 and ZFC have catered mostly to entry-level and enthusiast markets, with no sign of a high-performance DX successor. Meanwhile, Canon and Fujifilm have been actively refreshing their APS-C flagships, pulling in shooters who might otherwise have waited for Nikon's next move. If the Z90 doesn't arrive soon, Nikon risks losing an entire segment of potential buyers who will have already migrated to competing systems. Some industry insiders suggest that prototypes of the Z90, or cameras very much like it, have been in testing for years. Reports hint at multiple ZAD mount bodies being trialed, including versions with stacked sensors. However, given the cost of developing high-performance APS-C stacked sensors, Nikon may opt for a more traditional BSIC-MOS design to keep the price accessible. A partially stacked sensor could still offer significant speed advantages without the premium cost of fully stacked technology, though it would need to deliver rolling shutter performance good enough for fast-moving subjects. The real challenge for Nikon is not just in the specs, but in the message. For many, the D500 represented the perfect blend of durability, speed, and value. It offered pro-level autofocus, high burst rates, and robust build quality at a fraction of the cost of a D5. The Z90 will have to live up to that legacy while also proving its worth in a mirrorless world where the AF performance is tied directly to sensor design. Unlike DSLRs, where a high-end full-frame AF module could be transplanted into a crop body, mirrorless requires purpose-built sensors to achieve the same results, a fact that adds cost and complexity. For wildlife photographers especially, the stakes are high. Many are still holding onto their D500s, unwilling to move to mirrorless until a true DX flagship emerges. Others have already switched to full-frame bodies like the Z8, accepting the trade-offs in reach for the benefits of mirrorless autofocus and EVF technology. If the Z90 can match the AF reliability and burst rates of the Z8 while offering the extra reach of a crop sensor, it could win back some of that audience. The other factor to consider is market reality. Nikon has openly stated in past corporate reports that its primary focus is the mid to high-end full-frame segment. APS-C products, in their view, face a shrinking market as casual shooters increasingly rely on smartphones. That means the Z90's success, if it launches, will depend on appealing to a niche but highly dedicated group of photographers. This is both a blessing and a risk. Niche products can build brand loyalty, but they can also fail to achieve the sales numbers needed to justify their development. If Nikon does move forward, the Z90's launch will need to be accompanied by a clear commitment to the DX format, not just in bodies, but in lenses. Without that, even a well-spec'd camera could feel like an orphan in the lineup, especially when compared to the integrated systems offered by Canon and Fujifilm. The competition is fierce, and in the absence of native support, third-party lens makers might not be enough to fill the gaps. In the end, the question for potential buyers is whether to wait or walk away. The longer the Z90 remains a rumor, the harder it is to justify patience when viable alternatives are readily available. Some will choose to invest in a Z8 or Z9 and use crop mode, effectively bypassing the need for a dedicated DX flagship. Others may decide that Canon's R7 or Fujifilm's X-H2S offers the right blend of speed, reach, and lens support today, rather than gambling on what Nikon might deliver tomorrow. What do you think? Share with us in the comments. Thanks for watching.